And welcome back to Sports Plus. When you say the name Bob Knight, it conjures up a lot of adjectives: intense, principled, demanding, combative, oh yes, controversial. But there's one more word that has to be included when describing Bob Knight: winner. The numbers jump out at you: 619 career wins, 11 Big Ten championships, 3 NCAA titles, an Olympic gold medal, and maybe the most meaningful statistic of all: nearly 95% of Knight's four-year players have left Indiana University with a degree. And joining us now on Sports Plus is Coach Knight. Coach Knight, thanks for being here. Talk about how meaningful that is, that 95% of your four-year players graduate. Is that more meaningful than winning NCAA championships to you?
No, it really isn't, because that simply, to me, is what we should be doing. I think that when we take a kid from a home, wherever that may be, what we're essentially saying is we're going to do at least as much for that kid as you'd be able to do if he stayed here at home with you as parents. And I think, to me, the whole essence of going to college is eventually graduating. So if we're going to bring a kid to college, bringing to Indiana University, then I think it's incumbent upon us to see that the kid graduates. So that is something that I believe we're expected to do. Now, I'm not so sure that we're expected to win. I think when you win, that's kind of the icing on the cake. But the cake itself is the kid having a meaningful experience as a player and getting a degree as a student.
And yet some coaches will say, look, I couldn't control this player. I'm not his father. I couldn't get him to go to class. What do you say to those kinds of reactions?
Well, the way to get a kid to go to class that's playing basketball is really simple. You either go to class or you don't play. I mean, you don't have to be Einstein to figure that one out. That works extremely well. We start out a little bit with, we keep track of our kids' class records, and if a kid cuts class, then we get him up and let him run at about 5:30 in the morning. And it's amazing how I think the early morning air, the clarity of the air, the briskness of the air enables that kid to, in the future, set his alarm clock in such a way that he doesn't miss any more class.
The criteria that you have for basketball players that come to Indiana is not just a good jump shot or a good rebounder or a guy who can play defense. What do you look for in a player that you're recruiting?
Well, and this is a very difficult thing to determine, but I would like to get a player that can listen. I'd like to think that a player that we're bringing in can listen to what we want done, that he can adjust to what's going to be expected of him as a college player, as opposed to what he did or how he was used or how he played as a high school player. And you can't always determine that. I'd like to look at a kid. A kid does not have to be an A student, but if he's a C student or a slightly higher than a C student, that's what I would hope would be his academic capabilities. I don't want to get a kid that's a C student who should be an A student. That's always the kind of kid that I would just as soon go somewhere else. I'd like to be able to think that this kid has really worked to get the most out of what he has. I like to talk to people that don't know the kid, that have coached against the kid, that have officiated games in which the kid has played, or if I happen to know somebody that's a really knowledgeable fan in an area. You know, what do you think of this kid?
You've been in coaching a long time, and I'm wondering, a long time. I'm wondering, have kids changed, do you think, over the years? I mean, there seems to be. I mean, you know a lot about discipline. That is the kind of thing that Bobby Knight is known for. Have kids changed over the years when it comes to that?
I'll tell you how I think kids have changed. I think it's all been for the better. I think they're smarter. I think they know more about what's going on. I think they're more interested in a much wider variety of subjects today than kids were when I was a kid playing or thinking about going to college or playing in college. But the thing that has been detrimental to kids, their development and their well-being, I think, has been kind of a laissez-faire attitude adopted by adults, by teachers, by parents. a little bit like, well, why I don't want to irritate Johnny. You know, I want to be Johnny's friend, not Johnny's teacher, not Johnny's captain, not Johnny's boss. You know, why my dad never worried about being Bobby's friend. I'll tell you that. My dad worried about making sure I did what he wanted done, and I was fortunate enough to have parents like that, as a lot of us are, and also teachers the same way. And I think that the basic problem that kids have is that adults that they come in contact with at various stages of their development have ceased to be as demanding of those kids. See, I think that we can get more out of the kids because they are smarter, they are better read, they're exposed to more things. They have more to give today than kids had 20 or 30 years ago, simply because of what they know. But to get it, we've got to be just as demanding as those people were 30 years ago.
So teachers have changed, but it seems just looking at Bobby Knight, your principles have never changed. Has that been difficult?
Well, I may be anachronistic. I mean, I'm not so sure that in some cases I have really, quote, kept up with the times, but I'm not sure that keeping up with the times is in always the best interest of kids that I have anything to do with, i.e. The players that I have.